Welcome everybody to Point of Jew. As always, I am the host, the J Hirsch, Jeremy Hirsch. And tonight, pretty excited, we are going to have a guest that brings music back to the show. We have Richmond area musician, Mike Hedrick of Mashup and Cozy Condition. And we're going to learn a little bit about the funk today. I'm pretty excited about that. My music knowledge is not top notch, but that's why we do this show, to learn stuff. And before we kind of dive into that, what's been brewing in my week? Today started off really well. Found out somebody had used my credit card, which is a great experience for many of us who have had that. They bought an 89-cent digital book from Amazon. And while we think that, hey, you know, that's a small thing, not really a big deal, I did used to work in banking. Yes, I was a Jew in banking. I know, right? No. Little tip, a lot of times people who steal your credit card information will try a small purchase first before they go ham on a bigger purchase. So it is good to catch that. So we'll see what happens. Hope you guys like my set right now. Went with the classic Doctor Who, like TARDIS console area. Not going to use this for an interview, but just wanted to play around. My lovely yellow lighting usually permeates through these interviews. So I just thought I would do something, I don't know, fun for a minute. Fun for me anyway, right? What else has been brewing? Like many of you, I have been watching WandaVision on the Disney Plus, and I like it so far. We're at the time of recording 2 episodes in. If you were watching it for a sitcom-y aspect, probably horribly disappointed, because it is not really a sitcom, but a show in the guise thereof. There's a lot more dark, sinister types of things going on in WandaVision, and that's why I've enjoyed it. Is there's these little things permeating in this reality that presumably Wanda has created for herself, her perfect, you know, little world that she is in, that she's created for herself and her life with Vision. And what I mean by these things, and earmuffs if we're trying to avoid spoilers. I'm not purposely going to spoil anything. But like in the first episode, there's a dinner with Wanda and Vision, and Vision's boss at work, Mr. Hart. He's asking all these questions to Wanda and Vision about their past, about their relationship, and it's not something Wanda can immediately bring to mind. So she glances at him briefly, and he starts choking. And his wife, played by the brilliant Deborah Jo Rupp, who I loved from that 70s show, and who's done a litany of other things, but she just keeps saying, stop it, over and over and over again, until like Wanda kind of clicks and gets Vision to help Mr. Hart. But there's all these little seeds of things that something is not right in this perfect sitcom world, 60s sitcom world. At the end of that episode, we see the group SWORD monitoring things. SWORD in the comics is sort of a counterpart to SHIELD. They typically monitor otherworldly potential threats, but it seems like in the MCU they're going to be utilized perhaps to monitor individuals of interest with, you know, powers or who are weapons, essentially. And then they play a little role in the second episode where, and at this point in time, the episode's still in black and white, but they have like a little SWORD toy helicopter in the bushes outside of Wanda and Vision's house. And it's interesting that is what breaks the reality there. The toy helicopter is colorized. There are other little things in that second episode about children. And at the very end of the episode, to kind of cap that off, Wanda's magically pregnant. And there's other little things that disrupt the world in that episode. Mentions of the devil, and Marvel certainly has its own iteration of the devil with Mephisto, who could play a role in this series. There's also a strange dude in a what looks like a beekeeper uniform that pops up out of the sewers at the end of the episode with either flies or bees or something around him, and that could potentially be a whole host of things. So the little details of the little things breaking in the world. There was also Wanda's name being called out on a radio as her and a neighbor were speaking. So that kind of broke that too. But there's all these little instances and nuances of things that something is not right. And that's what I want to watch for. That's what I'm genuinely interested in. One, to see the audio and visual cues that something's going on, and just to see how this story unfolds. So that's very intriguing to me. don't know about you, definitely leave me a comment to see how you're enjoying WandaVision thus far. By the time you see this, episode 3 will have rolled out. Maybe you've gone through all of them already. They're like 20-ish minutes, so super easy to do. So that's what's going on with me. But to tee it up, without much further ado, I really want to thank Mike Hedrick for joining us today and talking to us about music and talking to us about Mashup and Cozy Condition. So without further ado, let's bring on the funk. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Point of Jew. My name is Jeremy Hirsch. My guest with me today is Richmond area musician Mike Hedrick. Mike of Mashup and Cozy Condition. Mike, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I was listening to a bunch of your guys' stuff this week. I mean, you in some form have existed as a group for about, what, 10 years or so?
Yeah, roughly 10 years. Yep.
And styling of music, you guys definitely very, very, very funky.
Funky. Yeah.
Best way to kind of put it.
Yeah.
How did you get involved in funk music? Like, how did that even come about?
So I think I started out with rock like everyone else, in the early 90s. And I think as the mashup kind of evolved, I've always been into hip hop. I've always been into like old Beastie Boys and stuff like that. So I just tried to incorporate that into my writing a little bit more. And when I write originals, they just kind of come out that way. We have horn section in the band. So it just makes sense. And we'd rather play funky than rock, I guess is the word. But yeah, that's what we do. So.
No, I mean, it's extremely interesting. The sound, when some of the listeners go to check you out, it was not going to be what I expected. And like you just said, with kind of like the horns and everything going on, it's definitely kind of a very unique vibe. And I was listening to Can't Wait to See You, which I know was one of your last songs that you guys put out. I know you telling me right before this started, and I had heard it as well. You had a single, First Thing in the Morning, which was instrumental. And then even some of your covers I thought were really good. Like I listened to the SOB cover, and that was really good.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I like that one.
So, I mean, you have a really good mix of original content, instrumentals. I know I say this year, but we're barely into it. But you guys, before obviously the pandemic, were playing at different venues and things in the area. How do you, when you're coming up with a set list, how do you kind of decipher like how much original content you want to do, how many covers you want to do? What's sort of the thought process in putting your music together in terms of a performance?
So as a band, we were kind of formed as a cover band. So that's really where we play weddings, we play events. If we're playing something like a wedding, we usually will only play cover songs. We won't play any originals just because people want to hear the cover songs.
They want to hear the classics.
They want to hear what they know. Yeah. So we try to stick to like deep funk classics, Stevie Wonder, Parliament, James Brown, that kind of stuff. But when we do our local gigs and clubs and stuff, we'll play about 1/3 original, 2/3 cover.
Nice. Has it been fairly stressful with, I would imagine, being a lot less live performances, whether it be, some of the weddings and things you guys were doing or playing, the club scene here as well. How has that kind of been impacting you?
So we usually do probably 70 shows a year, give or take, 70 to 100. And last year we maybe only did 20 or 30, so it was pretty big impact. So, and the ones we have done are a lot less, there's a lot less people, more precautions. Our next show is not until the end of February. So we did a New Year's Eve, did a handful in December, but we're a big band. So we're 6-piece at the smallest. So it's hard to book us because there's so many of us.
You're taking up a good amount of the numbers that are allowed to have already.
Correct. Yeah. So we're taking this time. I've been writing a lot of stuff and should have music coming out every 2 weeks for the next, 6 months or so. So, and then we're heading into the studio to do a live video. the 2nd of February. We're doing an 8-piece band in that one, and it's going to be 3 original songs, like super funky. So we're going deeper. If you listen to the newer stuff we've released, like in the last 3 or 4 months, that's more indicative of where we're headed. You know, I'm headed more in that funk, deep funk kind of genre.
It's exciting because I mean, I am not very musically well versed. I will openly, wholeheartedly admit that.
Right.
But your sound is something that, you know, I don't think is very prevalent right now. So it's something that I think is a nice change of pace, and it's something very, I mean, it comes from an established genre, but it's very unique in terms of, you know, what else is out there, what else people are hearing right now. So I think it's a wonderful kind of change of pace. So the funkier you get, I think that that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's go all the way funky or don't go at all, right?
is that going to be the slogan on your shirt or something?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, but right here.
So you started to say we were going to get some funkier tracks. You're going to release new. You said you're going to release new music a little bit more steadily now as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you can kind of like tee up or let us know in terms of what to expect, you know, from those upcoming tracks that you're going to put out?
So right now we have 7 at different levels of production. You know, just 3 or 4 are ready to go. So the first one will come out Friday, and then we'll have another one 2 weeks after that. So we have 7 kind of almost ready. You know, we might just be tweaking little bits and pieces. They're going to be really funky compared to the other ones. The drum sound is going to be a lot drier, a lot less rock drum sounds. 3-piece horn section on everything.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty happy about it. Like I feel good about it. We've had some good success with the last stuff. You know, we released 8 songs last year, and we had about 500,000 listens. You know, which is pretty good. And then
it brought up some of your 2020 stats. I mean, you had, like you said, over 500,000 listens.
Mm-hmm.
You had approximately 85,000 listeners altogether, and you were heard in 91 countries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So it's been interesting because the funny thing for me is like the people around here don't necessarily listen to it, but like once you put it out there, anybody that likes it. So we had a song "Devil at Your Door" that actually really performed well in Spotify's algorithm and got us a lot of followers. So those followers have kind of continued into the other material. And the last one, "Can't Wait to See It," it's only been out for 60 days, 90 days, somewhere in that ballpark, right in the middle. Yeah. And it's just hitting 50,000, and it's doing pretty good too. So people are liking it, and it's doing good on YouTube. So it's like 10,000 YouTube. So,
I mean, that's amazing. It is the growth of your music. And I don't mean this in any kind of a way, but is it surprising? Like, does it kind of eclipse expectations from when you guys maybe started this and from where it is, if you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I've been putting out music for a while now. I put it out under another project, my older stuff, where it was more just me writing. It's more rock oriented, and no one listened to it. You know, so I put it out and like, you know, so and that's okay. I mean, you're not doing it just so people listen to it, but like the stuff's still out. It's called The Confluence. You know, it might get a 3,000 or 4,000 listens a year, you know, kind of thing. So it's just a little more commonplace sounding music, you know. And I think the fact that we are doing funk and we are doing stuff that's a little genre specific has kind of helped a lot. So people that are into that genre have kind of found it, you know. It feels really good though to have when you see people listen to the music. It shocks me.
It shocks you? It's good stuff, so it shouldn't.
The new stuff is going to be really good. Like the new stuff, we've learned a lot over the last like 10 years about how to record, and we've really learned a lot in the last year about what we should sound like and what a release should sound like, and like what good writing is and bad writing is. You know what I mean? So I think hopefully it'll turn some heads, this new stuff. I hope. We'll see.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be good.
Yeah, I hope so.
And I know you were alluding to that, you know, you write a lot of the songs. Do you write every song, or is there others in the band that are also writing? And how do you kind of manage with, because you are a rather large group, so how do you guys kind of stay coherent?
Yeah, so I write probably 90%, what's on the records. I write all the lyrics and and the music usually, but our guitar player is a partner in it. Like he and I produce the stuff, and sometimes we will dig into a well of musicians. Like if our normal guys aren't available, we'll pull guest musicians in, and so he and I write pretty much everything, and I'll just bring it to the group as a finished product demo, and then say, here's what it is, and obviously they make changes and kind of they hear things, and when we go into the studio, we'll take it like Can't Wait to See You. We did 12 bass passes, so we had 12 different tracks of bass, and then we sift through and pick the ones that we are going to use, the ones that we want to use. But the shell of the song is already written. I write it in Logic Pro. I write on the keyboard or on the guitar, right here in this room.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How many different instruments can you play? So you mentioned guitar, keyboard.
Yeah. Guitar, keyboard, bass. Yeah, pretty much. It's my three right there.
That's the main trinity.
Yeah. So, and then the horn parts, I write them on the keyboard. So like there's a song called Feel For Us that's like horn dominant. And then like Can't Wait to See You has a horn line in it, but there's a lot of saxophone solos in it, which those, I obviously don't write those. Our saxophone player just plays them. So that's all him coming up.
Just gets like a feel for it and how
to
insert.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. I mean, I can marginally play the kazoo. So if you ever like need a kazoo piece to something, I got you.
Yeah, we'll recruit you. Yeah.
I mean, I have no ear for music, but that's extremely interesting. Were you always in some form of band or doing music throughout your life, or like how did you fall in love with music? Like how did that kind of shape you?
I would say when I was like 14, I got my guitar when I was 14, and then I joined a band when I was probably 17. And I've always been in some fashion, since then. So it's a long time.
The music bug has bit you hard, my friend.
Yeah. It's definitely a passion. I would say that the the last 10 years or so has taught me a lot about, my style. I used to be more of a rock guy, and now you kind of, you get into different stuff, and as you do, your style changes and you kind of morph into what your influences are at that time. So
do you keep seeing, the band right now as constantly evolving? I know we're getting funkier. Do you ever see like tweaking with the sound a little bit past that? Or is that just something where, you hit a certain wheelhouse so you could experiment, but you don't want to necessarily change things, but so much, if that makes sense?
Yeah. I think we found the wheelhouse, which is good. There's a lot of room within the wheelhouse though, like with funk music, and I think the key is just to have that beat behind it, and not go back to the 1-4-5 rock and roll, Guns N' Roses vibe. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like kind of steer clear of that. But there's a lot of room for like sampled drums, and I just got a keyboard. I've been testing a new keyboard processor that's got some wicked sounds on it that don't sound anything like, they sound more like hip hop than they do funk, but that stuff fits really well into the music, so I can see us doing a lot more of that, a lot more like extended horn sections and kind of mixing the horn sections with the hip hop beats. It's kind of the newer stuff that we've got coming out is going to have a lot of that on it, a lot of big hip hop lines, beats, and then like horn lines to go with it.
That's really cool. I like that idea, and I'm very excited to hear everything coming out. And I think a lot of other people, who hopefully listen to this show too, will get excited about that and take a listen because it meshes really well that type of vibe. So I think that's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. So I'm glad that you guys are continuing on and experimenting with that. Um, kind of in that vein and in that regard, um, is there, I should say, anything where you don't want to necessarily fall back into the pitfalls of being more rock heavy? Is that hard since that was something that you did for a while and were influenced? Is it hard to kind of avoid those pitfalls, or you're kind of in this funk zone right now, so leaning into those kind of habits or
Yeah.
tendencies is easier to avoid?
It works its way in no matter what. Like it's going to work its way into the singing. It's going to work its way into the choruses. So the one. I mean, it's not necessarily a conscious thing, but like you're gonna do it no matter what. Like I'm programmed to write certain chord progressions, and that's what comes out of me.
Yeah.
So you can't avoid that. I just think that you wanna avoid making the whole piece fit that kind of cookie cutter rock vein, so to speak. So, and I think it's very much rhythm. It's rhythm section driven more than anything else, and it's rhythm section. It's components of the band. When you have a three-piece horn section, or you have, you know, bass drum combo that's going to be heavy on the rhythm, and you're not connecting guitar lines. It's never going to be rock, but there'll be rock influences to go with it.
I think that's a really good explanation of it. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then switching topic from some of the originals in your processes and things, when you do covers,
Mm-hmm.
what's kind of the process for what you decide to cover? I mean, I know at weddings people have the things that they want to hear, but if there's something that you're genuinely interested in covering, is there a certain rhyme or reason to what you select, or how do you select what you want to cover or what you want to focus on?
So we just kind of, I mean, we honestly look at like the top 100, live music, like kind of songs that fit. You want to pick something that fits your vocal style, first. If you want to be able to sound somewhat in the ballpark. We change our covers up a lot. So we really looked for like rock songs that we can play in a funky way. One of the songs we have coming out will be a AC/DC song, Back in Black.
I
Where
love
we
that
play
song.
it, we play it like really super funky though. It doesn't sound anything like Back in Black. So as long as we can hit the choruses and make those sound good, like in quality, and then we can do whatever we want with them.
That's a very interesting way to do it. What's been the most surprising cover that you've done, in terms of, maybe something that you picked that was kind of way off base from something that you would normally pick,
Sure. Yeah.
or something that also, maybe that you picked that people would be surprised that you did?
So we did Life in the Fast Lane by the Eagles, and that's actually out online now. But we mixed it with a Chick song, an old disco song.
Yeah.
That surprised us that it actually worked. So it's two, kind of an interesting sound, I think.
That's really cool.
That one's a good one. We've got a couple other good ones that you're like surprised that you were able to pull it off. You know what I mean? What else did we do? I'm always shocked that we can pull off like "Sweet Child of Mine." We do like a more funkier version of that. That's pretty cool actually. That's one of those like holy grail kind of songs that you don't want to mess with, but we did.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, you got to go on a limb as an artist sometimes and push yourself, right? Or try things, even, see how it goes across. Is there anything where you wouldn't cover it? Like, this will not fit. I can't do anything with this.
Mumble rap.
So just because you said that, we're going to need an MCC mumble rap.
Mumble rap tune. Yeah. No, we can't cover mumble rap because you don't know what they're saying. It's just.
So instead of mumble rap, just throw in some kazoo lines, and then we brought it back all the way.
Yeah. Kazoo rap. Yeah, that'll work.
Rap. We could try and do that.
Yeah.
So in terms of, what's next? You got a couple songs lined up that you said are in various, forms of production. We're heading into much funkier grounds, much funkier territory. You got a show coming up end of February. Are things looking bright's an interesting word, but are things looking better in terms of being able to perform live again? Or is that still, I mean, I know we're in an area of uncertainty. I know you mean people can't necessarily say, but as the weather gets warmer, are you able to do like open air type events, or what avenues, I guess, are you kind of looking to get in front of people again?
Yeah, it was better last summer. In the summer we were able to do, we played at some golf courses, things like that. So there'll be some outdoor gigs that'll open up, I'm sure. We just don't have much on the calendar between now and we got our first wedding in April that's supposed to happen, that should be fun. We haven't booked anything for St. Patty's Day yet, which we usually do. Well, COVID hit St. Patty's Day weekend, and we had a bunch of shows lined up, and they all got canceled, and that was kind of when it all started coming down. So our schedule starts to pick back up, like with booking wise, in August. Like we have a good amount August, September, October next year, because I think people are confident that everything will be somewhat more normal then, and we'll be able to have events. But things will come, they always do. So, some of our regular spots will probably open back up, and then next thing you know, our schedule will be full again. So.
Well, that's good, and I think that's a realistic time frame in terms of when things, hopefully, knock on wood, will turn around.
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of different, musicians during, how they've coped with things during COVID. I talked to a DJ who said that he was doing more like live stream performances. Has COVID, I mean, obviously couldn't do the shows that you did, obviously been able to write a little bit more maybe than necessarily you would have if you didn't have as much of the time. Has there been any drastic changes with how COVID has made you guys have to adapt, or changes that it's forced upon you to make?
Yeah, I mean, it's when we do this session February 2nd in the studio, we're all going to have to we're filming it, so we're all going to have to wear masks, and even if we weren't filming it, in the studio, even like we're recording, and I'll be in a booth by myself because I'm singing, and the horns will be, in their own booths and everything. And so, yeah, it's definitely, I mean, just like everybody else, I mean, it's been a lot of challenges to get through, but, we've had a lot of gigs just drop off, like last minute kind of thing, but it is what it is. I understand, it's like we're all in the same boat, and everybody's doing the best that they can. I mean, we're lucky, I don't do it for a living, obviously, but a lot of people do, and they completely don't have any form of income, so we're not really going to do, like, we did a couple of, we played at the Beacon Theater for like tips, through PayPal or Venmo, but it was for the people who work there. We didn't take any of the money just because we're not living off of it. But the people who do it to make a living, that's their only stream of income, it's completely gone. Like there's tons of people in this area that are like mid-level touring, musicians. They may just be in the band and like all the tours stopped. And that's where in this day and age as a musician, you really make the bulk of your money playing live. That's the only way they make a living.
No, so, it's definitely been hard for that. I mentioned I talked to the Richmond area DJ with how they were impacted with weddings and things, his booking schedule and some of the big festivals and stuff, gone. I talked to a gentleman who's in a, fairly large band from New York, and, they couldn't really play anywhere. They couldn't tour. And, that's the bulk of that's what he does. He's a musician. He thankfully can do comics and artwork and has been doing more with that, and did a solo album that predominantly was focused online. But it's interesting to see the outlets that people are having to create or come up with as this has been so disruptive for everybody.
And I just wonder if it's going to come back the same way it was. That's you know, it's either going to come back totally full bore, or it'll be like little sections will kind of make its way back. But I don't know. We'll see.
It's weird to prognosticate, because it's like, on the one hand, I'm sure there's countless individuals who are dying to go to a concert or see somebody perform live. And then, maybe the people that'll be more tepid, at least for maybe a year or 2 or 3 years before they're willing to go out in a packed place or something to that regard. So yeah, it's very interesting to kind of see, hopefully, towards the fall, like you were saying, that you guys get back on a regular schedule and being able to be out at clubs, or, as next spring rolls around, be out at weddings and things, and normalize that.
Right.
Totally. One thing I like to do when I have somebody who's doing something in a given field, so in your case, music, for people who are trying to get into music or pick up an instrument, or maybe, form a band, from your own experiences or your thoughts, what kind of advice do you give those types of people, that are trying to, even if it's not necessarily, like we were saying, it's not your source of income, but it is a thing that you do and that you enjoy and that you guys have some success at. So what kind of advice or experiences can you share?
I mean, my biggest advice would be, do if you want to do it, actually go out and do it. Don't, so many people sit around and go, I want to learn how to play guitar. So if your goal is to be in a band, go join a band. Like, there's a band for you. Even if you don't know how to play guitar, you know enough to be in a band. And everybody starts at that same spot, But a lot of people, I've met so many people in my life where it's like, they're incredible bedroom guitar players, and they go on and on and on, but they can't keep a band together because they want it to be perfect. They're like, well, it's never perfect. It's constantly a struggle. But it's a fun struggle. And it's like, you're constantly chasing, the same, even the best of the world. Like, you take the best musicians in the entire world, they still feel like they can improve, right? So like, someone's art coming at you, it has nothing to do with like your technical ability or where you are, or when you picked up the guitar, or if you want to create music, just do it. Now, if you want to learn an instrument and be in a cover band and play other people's music, you probably have to learn it a little better, because there's an established bar there, that you need to like get to, but it's not that high, and it's like I'm telling you, like, if you picked up a guitar and you really worked at it, you could learn enough to be in a band within a couple of months, with the internet and stuff. And just that, I mean, that's what I would tell people more than anything. And then the other thing would be, play with people that you like, like, don't settle. Like, don't ever just keep somebody around because you think you can't get better, or because you feel like, oh, the band won't be as good if we don't have this person on guitar. Well, it doesn't matter. What matters is, like, you get along with the person and they're into it, and it all will fall into place, like, if you don't get along, and like, or somebody's not into it, and like, you're forcing them to be into it, or something, it'll never happen. It's just, and if it does, it'll be like pulling teeth. It won't be fun, because you spend a lot of time with these people in your band, like, wherever they might be. You spend 3 hours on stage with them, and then you spend the hour before, the hour after with them. That's 5 hours, so it's like, you're choosing your coworkers, so to speak, but they all have to be. And I've been fortunate enough that we've, I've been able to, because like, literally, I've had so many band members over the 10 years. Like, literally, it's been, I mean, not a single one of the original 5 are in the band now.
Wow.
But the guitar player I was mentioning, he's been with us for 6 years. You know, you get certain people, you know they're good, you know they work, stick with them, you know, and like keep doing it. Because it's like, what else are you gonna do? You know, it is what if you want to do it, do it.
I think that's
That would
good
be my
advice.
advice.
Plus, if you have negative people, I mean, you're doing something that you enjoy and that you love. Why would you want to bring that down and make that toxic for yourself when it's supposed to be a fun outlet?
Yeah, there shouldn't be a time. There shouldn't be a time where you're dreading going to a gig. It should always feel good. It should always feel like a release, and like it's something that you've been excited to do. And you know, if it's not, why are you doing it? You know, like it's wasting everybody's time. You know.
No, I think that's pretty solid advice. Sounds
Yep.
like you got a bandmate over there that's not having a good time.
I do. Yeah, she wants. I don't know what she wants her dinner. What'd
Well,
you do?
we'll get it to her in a second. I thoroughly appreciate you coming on and talking to us about music. The best ways for the listeners to find Mashup and Cozy Condition. You guys have a website, mccfunk.com, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I don't do the best job keeping up with that here. I found that not many people go to websites anymore. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the best way to kind of keep up with what we're doing is Instagram, Facebook. We have a YouTube channel. We have a Spotify channel. So I will get the website updated when I get the live video. But really, we don't get as many visitors as we do on everything else. So I don't know if it dilutes the message or what, but like.
And I just think it's how people are consuming and finding things. I think
Yeah.
you're 100% on that. Most people are going on, Facebook or Spotify directly, or, I
Mhm.
get more listens on YouTube than I do almost anything else. Um,
Mhm.
so I agree with that, but I'll make sure in the description to link out all your social media so people can check it out, whatever way they consume.
Sounds
And
good. Yeah. Yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah.
so I really appreciate that. Mike Hedrick, Mashup and Cozy Condition. Everyone take a listen. Get your funk on. Mike, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Everybody, this has been Point of View.
Thanks for having me.